"Daddy, please help her." William Harper froze at his daughter's urgent cry. Through the rain-streaked window of his Bentley, he spotted what had caught 8-year-old Sophie's attention. Across the street, a young woman clutched a small boy to her chest, while 2 men loomed over her. The confrontation was taking place in front of a modest apartment building, the woman backed against the wall, her face a mask of fear. "Stay here," William instructed Sophie, his voice firm but gentle. He met the eyes of his driver in the rearview mirror. "Keep the doors locked, Robert." William stepped into the downpour, his tailored suit immediately soaked. At 42, the self-made billionaire carried himself with the confidence of someone accustomed to command. He crossed the street with purposeful strides, the rain plastering his dark hair to his forehead. "Is there a problem here?" His deep voice carried authority that made both men turn. The woman, no more than 30, with honey-brown hair now darkened by rain, clutched her son tighter. The boy, perhaps 5 years old, buried his face in his mother's neck. "None of your business, pal," the taller of the 2 men snarled. His weathered face and calloused hands suggested manual labor, but the expensive watch on his wrist told a different story. "Move along." William stepped closer, positioning himself between the men and the woman. "I believe I asked a question." The second man, shorter but more muscular, took a threatening step forward. "Look at the suit on this guy. Think you own the world, don't you?" "I own enough of it to make problems for you," William replied evenly. "Now, I suggest you both leave." The woman behind him whispered, "Please, just go, they'll hurt you." William didn't budge. "Ma'am, are these men bothering you?" "She owes us," the first man cut in. "Rent's 3 months behind. We're just collecting what's ours." William's eyes narrowed. Landlords, maybe. Debt collectors, possibly. But their aggressive stance and the terror in the woman's eyes suggested something more sinister. "How much?" William asked. The shorter man named a figure that made the woman gasp. "That's twice what I owe. You're making up numbers now." William reached inside his jacket and pulled out his wallet. "I'm paying her debt, all of it, right now. Then you're going to leave her alone." The men exchanged glances, clearly surprised by this turn of events. "Who the hell are you?" the taller one demanded. "Someone who can make your lives very difficult if you don't accept this offer." William held out a stack of bills, his expression impassive. After a tense moment, the shorter man snatched the money and counted it quickly. "Fine. She's clear." He stuffed the cash in his pocket. "Lucky day for you, Amanda. Found yourself a knight in shining armor." The men backed away, but the taller one pointed a finger at William. "You should be careful who you get involved with. Some people attract trouble." William held their gaze until they disappeared around the corner. Only then did he turn to the woman, Amanda, who was trembling, partly from the cold rain, partly from fear. "Thank you," she breathed, her voice barely audible above the downpour. "I don't know how to repay you." "You don't have to," William assured her. He noticed the boy peeking at him with curious eyes. "Is he okay?" Amanda nodded, running a protective hand over her son's damp hair. "Yes, Noah's fine, just scared." Her eyes darted nervously in the direction the men had gone. "They'll be back. They always come back." "Daddy!" Sophie's voice called out. William turned to see his daughter's face pressed against the car window, concern evident even from across the street. "That's my daughter," William explained. "We were on our way to dinner when she spotted you." He hesitated, then made a decision. "Why don't you both come with us? Get out of the rain, have a hot meal." Amanda shook her head. "I couldn't impose—" "Please," William insisted, "just dinner. Then I'll have my driver bring you home." Noah tugged at his mother's sleeve. "Mom, I'm hungry," he whispered. The simple statement seemed to decide it for Amanda. "Okay, thank you." At the restaurant, an upscale Italian place where the maitre d' greeted William by name, Sophie immediately took Noah under her wing, showing him how to fold his napkin into animal shapes. The children sat at one end of the table, engrossed in their own world, while William and Amanda occupied the other. "I don't usually accept help from strangers," Amanda said, her fingers nervously tracing the stem of her water glass. In the warm light of the restaurant, William could see she was beautiful. Not in the polished way of the women in his social circle, but with a natural grace that needed no enhancement. "Those men," William began, "they're not really your landlords, are they?" Amanda's eyes dropped to the tablecloth. "No. My late husband, he owed them money, a lot of money. Gambling debts." She took a shaky breath. After Mike died, they started coming to me, saying I inherited his debts. I've been paying them what I can, but it's never enough. That's not how debt collection works, William pointed out. What they're doing is illegal. Try telling them that, Amanda replied with a bitter smile. They know I can't afford lawyers, can't afford to move, can't afford to do anything but pay. William studied her. What do you do for work? I'm a nurse at Memorial Hospital. Night shift mostly, so I can be with Noah during the day. My neighbor watches him when I work. She glanced at her son, who was laughing at something Sophie had said. It's not enough, but it's all I can manage as a single parent. The conversation flowed more easily after that. William learned that Amanda had been widowed for 2 years, that Noah was in kindergarten and loved dinosaurs, and that she had moved to the city from a small town upstate following her husband's death. In turn, Amanda learned that William had built his technology empire from scratch, that Sophie's mother had left them when their daughter was barely a year old, and that despite his wealth, he tried to give Sophie as normal a childhood as possible. She seems like a wonderful girl, Amanda observed, as Sophie helped Noah butter his bread. You've done a good job. William felt an unexpected warmth at the compliment. I try. It's not always easy. Parenting never is, Amanda agreed. But it looks like you've figured it out better than most. By the time dessert arrived, the initial awkwardness had dissolved. Noah had chocolate smeared on his face, and Sophie was teaching him how to twirl spaghetti properly. William couldn't remember the last time he'd seen his daughter so animated with a new acquaintance. As the evening drew to a close, William's driver pulled up to Amanda's apartment building. The rain had stopped, but puddles still reflected the streetlights. Thank you for dinner, Amanda said as Robert opened the car door. And for earlier, I don't know what would have happened if you hadn't stepped in. William made a quick decision. Can I see you again? I'd like to help sort out this situation with those men. Amanda hesitated. I don't think that's a good idea. You've been kind, but getting involved with my problems, it could be dangerous. I'm already involved, William pointed out. At least let me give you my number. If those men come back, call me. After a moment's consideration, Amanda nodded. They exchanged numbers, and she and Noah said their goodbyes to Sophie, who extracted a solemn promise from Noah to draw her a dinosaur picture the next time they met. As the Bentley pulled away, Sophie leaned against her father's arm. Are we going to see them again, Daddy? William watched Amanda and Noah disappear into their building. I hope so, sweetheart. What he didn't know then was that the next day would bring a development that would change all their lives irrevocably. The next morning, William sat in his corner office on the 43rd floor of Harper Technologies headquarters. The city sprawled beneath him like a living circuit board. His mind, however, wasn't on the quarterly reports his assistant had left on his desk. It kept drifting to Amanda and Noah, and the trouble that seemed to shadow them. Mr. Harper. His assistant, Diane, appeared at the door. Your 9 o'clock is here. William nodded, forcing himself back to the present. Send them in. The meeting, with investors interested in Harper Technologies' new renewable energy division, dragged on longer than expected. By the time William emerged, it was nearly noon. He checked his phone, half hoping to see a message from Amanda, but the screen showed only work-related notifications. Diane, he called as he passed her desk. I'm heading out for lunch. I might be a while. His assistant raised an eyebrow. William rarely took long lunches, but merely nodded. Your daughter's school called. The art teacher wants to know if you'll be attending the exhibition on Friday. William made a mental note. Tell them I'll be there. Instead of heading to his usual lunch spot, William directed his driver to Memorial Hospital. He wasn't sure what compelled him to seek out Amanda at her workplace, concern, curiosity, or something else entirely. But the impulse was too strong to ignore. At the hospital, the nurse at the information desk informed him that Amanda Jackson worked in the pediatric ward, but was off duty until her night shift began at 7. Frustrated but undeterred, William returned to his car. Take me to this address, he told Robert, showing him Amanda's building on his phone. As they approached the modest apartment complex, William spotted a familiar figure on the steps. Noah sitting beside an elderly woman who appeared to be supervising him while he drew with chalk on the sidewalk. William instructed Robert to wait and approached cautiously, not wanting to alarm the boy or his caretaker. Noah looked up, his face brightening with recognition. You're Sophie's dad. The elderly woman eyed William suspiciously. Noah, do you know this man? He helped Mommy yesterday, Noah explained, then turned back to William. Is Sophie with you? Not today. She's at school. William replied, then extended a hand to the woman. I'm William Harper. I met Amanda and Noah yesterday during that thunderstorm. Marion Patterson, the woman replied, her handshake firm despite her age. I watch Noah while Amanda works or sleeps. She mentioned you helped her with some trouble. William nodded, choosing his words carefully. Those men who were harassing her, do they come around often? Marion's expression darkened. Too often. Started right after Mike died. Poor Amanda's been run ragged trying to keep them at bay. She studied William with shrewd eyes. What's your interest in all this, Mr. Harper? Men like you don't usually concern themselves with the problems of people like us. The blunt question caught William off guard. My daughter saw Amanda in trouble. We helped. I want to make sure she stays safe. Was all Marion said, but her expression softened slightly. Noah tugged at William's sleeve. Want to see my dinosaurs? He proudly displayed his chalk drawings, colorful, if somewhat abstract, renditions of prehistoric creatures. Very impressive, William said, crouching to the boy's level. Sophie will love these. I made her a special one. Noah pointed to a purple creature with what appeared to be a crown. It's a Sophiesaurus rex. William laughed, genuinely delighted by the child's imagination. That's perfect. Listen, Noah, do you know where those men live? The ones who were bothering your mom? Noah's smile vanished, and he shook his head, suddenly solemn. Mom says I should run and hide if I see them. Marion placed a protective hand on Noah's shoulder. One of them, the taller one, Vince, owns a pawn shop over on Westfield Street. The other one, Ray, works there sometimes. She fixed William with a penetrating stare. But if you're thinking of confronting them, I'd advise against it. They have connections. What kind of connections? The kind that mean trouble for anyone who crosses them, Marion replied cryptically. Amanda's late husband found that out the hard way. Before William could press for more details, his phone rang. Diane's name flashed on the screen. Mr. Harper, there's been an incident at Sophie's school. She fell during recess and may have broken her arm. They're taking her to Memorial Hospital now. William's heart clenched. I'm on my way. He turned to Marion and Noah. I have to go. My daughter's hurt. Please tell Amanda I stopped by. At Memorial Hospital, William found Sophie in the emergency room, her face tear-streaked but brave. Her left arm was being examined by a doctor, while a nurse stood by with a clipboard. Daddy! Sophie cried when she saw him. William rushed to her side, his heart breaking at her pain. I'm here, sweetheart. What happened? I was showing Lily how to do a cartwheel, Sophie explained, wincing as the doctor gently manipulated her arm. But I slipped on the grass. The doctor, a middle-aged woman with kind eyes, looked up at William. It's a simple fracture. She'll need a cast, but it should heal perfectly if she follows instructions. William nodded, relief washing over him. Thank you, doctor. As the medical team prepared Sophie for her cast, William stepped outside to call his office and reschedule his afternoon meetings. When he returned, he found an unexpected visitor sitting beside Sophie's bed, Amanda, in nurse's scrubs, helping his daughter choose a color for her cast. Amanda, William said, surprised. I thought you were off today. She looked up, equally startled. William, they called me in because they're short-staffed. Her eyes softened as she turned back to Sophie. I didn't realize this was your daughter until I saw her chart. Sophie, despite her pain, beamed at Amanda. I'm getting a purple cast, and Amanda says I can draw dinosaurs on it like Noah's. William felt a surge of gratitude. Thank you for taking care of her. Just doing my job, Amanda replied, but her smile suggested something more. Sophie's been very brave. While the orthopedic technician applied Sophie's cast, Amanda pulled William aside. I got a message that you came by my apartment. I wanted to check on you, William admitted. Those men yesterday. I'm worried they'll come back. Amanda's expression clouded. They always do. She hesitated, then added in a lower voice, They called me this morning. They said the debt's not settled. Despite what you paid, they're claiming Mike owed them much more. William's jaw tightened. That's extortion. Welcome to my world for the past 2 years, Amanda said with a bitter laugh. I don't know what to do anymore. I can't keep paying them, but I'm afraid of what will happen if I don't. William made a decision. I'm going to help you end this once and for all. How? I need to understand exactly what happened with your husband's debts. The real story, not what those thugs claim. Amanda glanced around the busy emergency room. I can't talk about it here. My shift ends at 7 tomorrow morning. Maybe we could meet then. William nodded. I'll pick you up. We'll have breakfast. Their conversation was interrupted by Sophie's call. Daddy, look at my cast. The next morning, William arrived at the hospital just as Amanda's shift was ending. She emerged looking tired but somehow still radiant, her honey-brown hair pulled back in a practical ponytail. Rough night? William asked, as she slid into the passenger seat of his Bentley. 3 emergency admissions and a 5-year-old with pneumonia who couldn't stop crying for his mum, Amanda replied, stifling a yawn. The usual. William directed Robert to drive them to a quiet breakfast spot on the outskirts of the city, a place where they could talk without interruption. Once they were settled in a secluded booth with coffee and food, Amanda began to explain. Mike worked in construction. Good money when there was work, but jobs weren't always steady. She stirred her coffee absently. He started gambling to make extra cash. Small bets at first, then bigger ones as he lost more. Eventually, he got involved with a man named Victor Donovan, who runs an illegal gambling operation. William recognized the name. Donovan was notorious in the city's underworld, though he maintained a veneer of legitimacy through various business interests. The men who confronted you, they work for Donovan? Amanda nodded. Vince and Ray. They're his collectors. Mike borrowed heavily from Donovan, using our house as collateral without my knowledge. When he died, car accident, they said, though I've always wondered. Donovan came after me for the money, claiming I was responsible for Mike's debts. That's not legally binding, William pointed out. Legal doesn't matter to men like Donovan, Amanda replied, her eyes haunted. He threatened to hurt Noah if I didn't pay. I sold our house, paid what I could, but Donovan keeps claiming the debt grows with interest. She looked at William directly. That's why I was suspicious when you helped me. The last man who offered to help was working for Donovan. It was a setup to get me deeper in debt. William felt a surge of anger at what this woman had endured. How much does Donovan claim you owe now? Amanda named a figure that made William's eyebrows rise. It was substantial, but not impossible for someone of his means. I could pay it, he said simply. Amanda's eyes widened. I can't ask you to do that. You didn't ask. I offered. Why would you do that for someone you barely know? William considered the question. Why indeed? Something about Amanda and Noah had touched him deeply, awakening protective instincts he hadn't realized he possessed. Because it's the right thing to do, he said finally. And because no one should have to live in fear. Amanda studied him for a long moment, then slowly shook her head. Paying them won't end it. Donovan will just come up with another amount, another reason why the debt isn't settled. The only way this ends is if Donovan is stopped. Then that's what we'll do, William said, his resolve hardening. We'll stop him. What neither of them knew was that their conversation had not gone unnoticed. In a corner booth, partially hidden by a newspaper, sat a man who had been listening intently to every word. As William and Amanda left the restaurant, he made a phone call. Boss? It's Vince. You were right about Amanda Jackson. She's found herself a rich boyfriend, and I think he's planning to cause trouble. That evening, William sat in his home office, staring at his computer screen. He'd spent hours researching Victor Donovan, compiling a dossier on the man's businesses, associates, and rumored criminal connections. The picture that emerged was troubling. Donovan operated in the shadows of legitimacy, using his pawn shops, real estate holdings, and nightclubs as fronts for money laundering, illegal gambling, and loan sharking. A soft knock interrupted his concentration. Sophie stood in the doorway, her purple cast decorated with marker drawings. Can't sleep, sweetheart? William asked, closing his laptop. Sophie shook her head, padding across the room in her pajamas. My arm itches. She climbed onto his lap, careful of her cast. Are we going to see Noah and his mom again? William smiled at his daughter's persistence. Would you like that? Yes. Noah's my friend now, and I think his mom is nice. Sophie looked up at him with serious eyes. She makes you smile differently. Differently? William asked, surprised by his daughter's observation. Not like your work smile or your talking to grown-ups smile. A real smile. Sophie yawned. I think she needs our help, Daddy. William hugged his daughter closer. I think you're right. Now let's get you back to bed. After tucking Sophie in, William returned to his office and made a call to James Kaplan, his head of security and a former FBI agent. James, I need everything you can find on Victor Donovan, and I need it fast. The next day, William arranged to meet Amanda after she'd dropped Noah at school. They sat in a quiet corner of a neighborhood cafe, away from curious eyes. "I've been looking into Donovan," William began, keeping his voice low. "He's involved in more than just illegal gambling. If we can gather enough evidence of his operations, we could take it to the authorities." Amanda's face paled. "You don't understand how dangerous he is. People who cross Donovan have a habit of disappearing." "I'm not suggesting we confront him directly," William assured her, "but there must be records of these so-called debts, evidence of his extortion. If we can find that." "And how exactly would we do that?" Amanda interrupted. "Break into his office? Hack his computer?" She shook her head. "This isn't some movie, William. These are real criminals with real guns." Before William could respond, his phone buzzed. It was a text from James. "Need to talk, found something important." "I have to take this," William apologized, stepping outside to call his security chief. "What did you find?" William asked without preamble. "It's about Donovan," James replied, his voice grim, "and about Amanda Jackson's husband, Mike. His death wasn't an accident." William felt a chill run down his spine. "What do you mean?" "Police report lists it as a single-vehicle accident. Car went off the road late at night, no witnesses. But I spoke to a buddy in the department. There were inconsistencies. Brake lines might have been tampered with, but the investigation was shut down before they could prove anything." "You think Donovan had him killed?" "Can't say for sure, but the timing is suspicious. Happened right after Jackson took out a massive loan from Donovan, using his house as collateral. With him dead, Donovan could go after the widow for the money, plus whatever additional interest he wanted to tack on." William's grip tightened on the phone. "Is there any way to prove this?" "Not without reopening the case, which would alert Donovan, but there's something else. Amanda Jackson filed a police report about harassment 6 months ago, named Vince Mercer and Ray Daniels specifically. Report was buried, never investigated. Corruption? Looks that way. Donovan has people on his payroll throughout the city, including some in law enforcement." William thanked James and ended the call, his mind racing. The situation was more dangerous than he'd initially thought. When he returned to the table, Amanda could see the change in his expression. "What is it?" she asked, concerned. William hesitated, unsure how much to share. "My security chief has been looking into Donovan. Amanda, there's a possibility your husband's accident wasn't an accident at all." Amanda's face went completely white. She gripped the edge of the table so hard her knuckles blanched. "I suspected," she whispered. "Deep down, I always wondered. Mike was a careful driver, especially when he'd been drinking. The accident never made sense." "I'm sorry," William said, reaching across the table to cover her trembling hand with his. "But this changes things. If Donovan is responsible for Mike's death, we're dealing with something much more serious than loan sharking." Amanda withdrew her hand, her eyes suddenly fierce. "All the more reason to stay away from him. I won't have anyone else hurt because of this, especially not you and Sophie." "We can't just do nothing," William argued. "What kind of life is this for you and Noah? Always looking over your shoulder, jumping at shadows?" "It's the life we have," Amanda replied, her voice breaking slightly. "I've accepted that." William leaned forward, his expression intense. "You shouldn't have to accept it. No one should." Their conversation was interrupted by Amanda's phone ringing. She answered it, and William watched as her face transformed from confusion to horror. "What? When?" She listened for a moment, then jumped to her feet. "I'm coming right now." "What's happened?" William demanded as she grabbed her purse. "Noah's school just called. He's missing. He was on the playground during recess, and now he's gone." Her voice shook with panic. "Someone took my son." William was instantly in motion, guiding Amanda out of the cafe to where Robert waited with the car. "We'll find him," he promised, though fear clawed at his own heart. "Robert, take us to Noah's school now." The elementary school was in chaos when they arrived. Teachers searching classrooms, police officers interviewing staff, parents arriving in a panic after hearing the news. The principal, a harried-looking woman in her 50s, met them at the entrance. "Miss Jackson, I'm so sorry. We're doing everything we can to find Noah." "What happened?" Amanda demanded. "How could someone just take him from a school playground?" According to his teacher, Noah was playing near the fence when a man approached from the other side. They appeared to be talking. Then Noah left with him. The playground monitor didn't realize what was happening until it was too late. "Did anyone recognize this man?" William asked. The principal shook her head. "Not the staff, but we're reviewing security camera footage with the police now." Amanda swayed on her feet and William steadied her. "It's Donovan," she whispered. "He's taken Noah to force me to pay." A police officer approached them. "Ms. Jackson, we need to ask you some questions about who might want to take your son." William stepped in. "I believe I know who's responsible. His name is Victor Donovan." The officer's expression changed subtly. "Donovan? What makes you think he's involved?" William explained the situation briefly, watching the officer's reactions carefully. When he mentioned Donovan's threats and the suspicious circumstances of Mike's death, he noticed the officer's eyes shift away. "We'll look into it," the officer said, his tone non-committal. "In the meantime, you should go home in case the kidnapper calls with demands." As the officer walked away, William leaned close to Amanda. "He's not going to help. I think he's on Donovan's payroll." "Then what do we do?" Amanda asked, desperation in her voice. "We find Noah ourselves," William replied grimly. He pulled out his phone and called James again. "I need your help. A child has been kidnapped, and I think Victor Donovan is behind it." James listened as William explained the situation. "This is serious, William. If Donovan has the boy, going through official channels might put him in more danger, especially if there are corrupt officers involved. Can you help us?" "I'll put a team together," James promised. "In the meantime, if Donovan contacts Amanda with demands, we need to record everything." Amanda's phone rang just as William ended his call. She answered it with shaking hands, putting it on speaker. "Hello?" "Amanda Jackson." The voice was unfamiliar, cold and businesslike. "I believe we have something that belongs to you." "Where's my son?" Amanda demanded, her voice breaking. "Please don't hurt him." "Noah is fine, for now. Whether he stays that way depends entirely on you." William placed a steadying hand on Amanda's shoulder as she asked, "What do you want?" "Mr. Donovan wants what he's owed plus interest for the trouble you've caused. The new amount is $250,000. Cash. You have until midnight." Amanda gasped. "I don't have that kind of money. Please, just let Noah go. He's just a child." "Perhaps your new friend can help." The caller's tone turned mocking. "The billionaire who's been poking around asking questions about Mr. Donovan. Tell William Harper that his interference has consequences." William stepped closer to the phone. "This is Harper. Let me speak to Noah." There was a pause. Then Noah's frightened voice came through. "Mom, I'm scared." "Noah!" Amanda cried. "Baby, it's going to be okay." "Mommy's going to come get you." "Enough," the cold voice returned. $250,000, midnight. We'll text you the location for the exchange. Come alone, Ms. Jackson. No police, no Harper, or you'll never see your son again." The call ended, leaving Amanda staring at the phone in horror. She turned to William, tears streaming down her face. "What am I going to do? I don't have that kind of money." "I do," William said firmly, "and we're going to get Noah back. But we're not playing by Donovan's rules." William took Amanda to his penthouse, where they met with James and his team of security specialists. While Amanda paced anxiously, they devised a plan. "Donovan expects you to be desperate and compliant," James explained to Amanda. "He doesn't know we're working together, which gives us an advantage. But he specifically said I should come alone," Amanda protested. "If he sees anyone else, he won't," James assured her. "My team will be invisible but present. We'll have eyes on you the entire time." William outlined the next steps. "You'll go to the exchange with the money. I'll have a tracking device sewn into the bag. Once Noah is safely with you, our team moves in." "And if something goes wrong?" Amanda asked, her voice small. William met her eyes. "Nothing will go wrong. I promise you. We're getting Noah back tonight." As the team finalized preparations, William found a moment alone with Amanda. She stood by the window, looking out at the city lights, her arms wrapped around herself as if holding her breaking heart together. "We're going to bring him home," William said softly. Amanda turned to him, her eyes red from crying. "Why are you doing all this? You barely know us." William considered the question. In the short time since that rainy evening when Sophie had spotted Amanda and Noah in trouble, something had shifted in him. These two people had awakened feelings he'd thought long buried after his wife abandoned him and Sophie. "I care about what happens to you and Noah," he admitted. "More than I expected to." Amanda stepped closer, vulnerability in her eyes. "I'm afraid, William. Not just for Noah, but for you, for what Donovan might do. Don't be. Men like Donovan only have power when people are too afraid to stand against them." Amanda's phone chimed with a text message. She looked down at the screen, then up at William, her face set with determination. "They've sent the location for the exchange. It's an abandoned warehouse at the edge of the industrial district." William nodded grimly. "Then it's time." As the team moved into action, neither William nor Amanda could have predicted the shocking revelation that awaited them at the warehouse. A truth that would rewrite everything they thought they knew about Noah's kidnapping and Mike Jackson's death. Rain fell in a gentle patter as Amanda approached the abandoned warehouse, her heart hammering in her chest. The duffel bag containing $250,000 in cash felt impossibly heavy in her hand. In her ear, a nearly invisible communication device kept her connected to William and James, though they had instructed her to say nothing unless absolutely necessary. "We have eyes on you," William's voice reassured her. "James's team is in position. Remember, your only job is to get Noah and leave. We handle the rest." The warehouse loomed dark and ominous against the night sky, its broken windows like empty eye sockets. A single light burned near what had once been a loading dock, illuminating a metal door. Amanda took a deep breath and approached. Before she could knock, the door swung open. Vince, the taller of the two men who had confronted her days earlier, stood in the doorway, a smirk on his weathered face. "Right on time," he said, eyeing the bag. "Smart decision." "Where's my son?" Amanda demanded, her voice steadier than she felt. Vince gestured for her to enter. "Inside, but first we check the money, and you get searched for wires." Amanda's pulse quickened. The communication device in her ear was so small it was practically undetectable, but if they found it... "No problem with the money," she said, handing over the bag. "But I came alone, just like you said. No wires, no police." Vince signaled to someone in the shadows. A woman stepped forward, hard-faced and efficient-looking. She patted Amanda down thoroughly but didn't check her ears or hair. "She's clean," the woman reported. Vince nodded, then led Amanda deeper into the warehouse. The space was cavernous, with rusted machinery casting strange shadows in the dim light. They passed through a maze of abandoned equipment until they reached what had once been an office area. "In here," Vince said, pushing open a door. Amanda's heart leaped to her throat when she saw Noah sitting on a chair, unharmed but frightened. His eyes widened when he saw her. "Mommy!" He jumped up and ran to her, and Amanda fell to her knees, gathering him into her arms, tears streaming down her face. "Are you okay, baby? Did they hurt you?" She checked him over frantically. Noah shook his head. "I'm okay. The lady gave me pizza." Amanda looked up, noticing for the first time another figure in the room, a woman sitting behind a desk. She was perhaps 50, elegantly dressed with silver-streaked dark hair. Her eyes, calculating and cold, studied Amanda with interest. "Ms. Jackson," the woman said, her voice cultured but with an underlying hardness. "I believe this is our first meeting. I'm Catherine Donovan." Amanda stood, keeping Noah behind her. "Donovan? You're Victor Donovan's wife," Catherine supplied, "though soon to be ex-wife if all goes as planned." Confusion washed over Amanda. This wasn't what she'd expected. "I don't understand. Where's Victor?" Catherine smiled thinly. "My husband doesn't know about this little arrangement. He believes you're still being handled by his usual collectors." "Then why—" "Am I involved?" Catherine leaned forward. "Because I need leverage against Victor, and you, Ms. Jackson, have unwittingly provided it." In Amanda's ear, William's voice was tense. "We're hearing everything. Keep her talking." Amanda swallowed hard. "I still don't understand what this has to do with me or my son." Catherine opened a drawer and pulled out a file. "Your husband, Mike Jackson, didn't just owe Victor money. He was working with him, and before his unfortunate accident, he acquired something that belongs to me, something that could destroy Victor if it became public." "Mike worked for Donovan?" Amanda felt the ground shift beneath her. "That's impossible. He was a construction worker." "Oh, he worked construction," Catherine agreed. "Perfect cover for moving certain items in and out of buildings undetected." She slid a photo across the desk. "Recognize this?" Amanda looked at the image, a small statue, perhaps 8 inches tall, of a woman draped in flowing robes. It appeared to be made of jade. "I've never seen it before," she said honestly. Catherine's expression hardened. "This artifact is worth millions to the right buyer. It was stolen from a museum in Beijing 5 years ago. Victor arranged the theft. Mike Jackson smuggled it into the country, and I paid for it, with money from my family's trust that Victor wasn't supposed to touch. If this is about some stolen statue, I don't have it, Amanda insisted. I never knew anything about Mike's involvement with your husband. Catherine studied her. Perhaps not, but I believe Mike hid it before his death. A safety measure in case Victor turned on him, which of course he did. I need that artifact, Miss Jackson, and I believe your son may know where it is, even if he doesn't realize it. Amanda pulled Noah closer. He's 5 years old. How could he possibly know anything about this? Children see things, they remember details adults overlook. Catherine turned her attention to Noah. Noah, do you remember your daddy's special hiding place, the secret spot where he kept things? Noah pressed his face against Amanda's side, refusing to look at the woman. Leave him alone, Amanda said fiercely. He doesn't know anything. Catherine sighed. I was hoping we could do this the easy way. She nodded to Vince, who had been standing silently by the door. Plan B. Before Amanda could react, Vince grabbed her arm, pulling her away from Noah. Mommy, Noah cried. It's okay, baby, it's okay, Amanda assured him, though her voice shook with fear. Outside the warehouse, William tensed as he listened to the exchange through his earpiece. James, we need to move now. Not yet, James cautioned. We need to know what she's planning. If we go in blind, someone could get hurt. Inside the office, Catherine crouched to Noah's level. Noah, I don't want to scare you or your mommy, but I need that special thing your daddy hid. If you help me find it, I'll make sure you and your mommy never have to worry about money again. You can have a nice house, like your friend Sophie has. Noah's eyes widened at the mention of Sophie's name. You know Sophie? I know all about Sophie and her daddy who's been helping your mummy, Catherine said smoothly. Now think carefully. Did your daddy ever take you somewhere special, just the two of you? A place where he might have hidden something important? Noah looked uncertainly at Amanda, who was still held firmly by Vince. It's okay, Amanda said, trying to keep her voice calm. Just tell the truth, baby. Noah bit his lip. Sometimes Daddy took me fishing at the lake house. He had a special box under the floor where he kept his lucky fishing lure. Catherine's eyes gleamed. A lake house, where? Up north, Noah said vaguely, in the way of children who don't fully understand geography. Catherine turned to Amanda. Where is this lake house? We sold it, Amanda replied, after Mike died, to pay his debts to your husband. Catherine's face darkened with anger. Who bought it? I don't know. It was handled by the bank. Catherine studied Amanda's face, then seemed to decide she was telling the truth. Vince, take Miss Jackson and the boy. We're going to that lake house property. What about the money? Vince asked, gesturing to the duffel bag. Bring it. Consider it a down payment on what Victor owes me. Catherine stood, straightening her expensive jacket. Miss Jackson, I hope for your sake and your son's that we find what we're looking for. In William's ear, James's voice was urgent. They're moving. We need to act now. No, William countermanded. Let them leave the warehouse. We'll follow them to the lake house. That's too risky, James argued. If we move now, we might not find out what this is really about, William insisted. Catherine Donovan is planning something against her husband. I want to know what it is before we bring in the authorities. Inside the warehouse, Amanda and Noah were being escorted to a black SUV parked at the loading dock. Catherine took the passenger seat, while Vince pushed Amanda and Noah into the back, climbing in beside them. As the vehicle pulled away from the warehouse, William and James followed at a distance in an unmarked car, with two more of James's team in vehicles behind them. The lake house is about an hour north, William told James as they drove. If that's where they're going, we have time to plan our approach. The convoy traveled through the night, leaving the city behind for the winding roads that led to the lake region. Rain continued to fall, making the rural roads slick and treacherous. In the SUV, Noah had fallen asleep against Amanda's side. Catherine had been silent for most of the journey, but as they neared their destination, she turned to look at Amanda. You truly didn't know about your husband's activities, did you? Her tone held a hint of grudging respect. No, Amanda replied. Mike kept a lot of secrets. Men usually do. Catherine's smile was bitter. Victor certainly did. 25 years of marriage, and I never knew the full extent of his operations until I hired a private investigator last year. Why are you telling me this? Because I understand what it's like to be deceived by the man you love. Catherine's expression softened fractionally. For what it's worth, I don't think Victor intended to kill your husband. Mike likely found out about Victor's plan to double-cross him over the artifact. He got nervous, hid it, then died before he could retrieve it. If you believe that, why did you kidnap my son? Amanda asked, anger seeping into her voice. Desperation, Catherine admitted. Victor's setting me up to take the fall for his crimes. The divorce papers cited irreconcilable differences, but what he's really doing is cutting me loose before the authorities close in. I need that artifact as leverage. The SUV turned onto a gravel road, headlights illuminating a small rustic cabin near the shore of a lake. The structure looked abandoned, with boarded windows and overgrown landscaping. We're here, the driver announced. As they exited the vehicle, William and James watched from a secluded position up the road. 3 men with Catherine plus the driver, James noted. We outnumber them, but they have Amanda and the boy. William nodded grimly. We wait until they're inside. Then we move. At the cabin, Vince broke the lock on the front door and they entered cautiously. The interior was dusty and bare, most furnishings long removed. Noah, do you remember where your daddy's special box was? Catherine asked. Noah looked around, then pointed to a corner of what had been the living room. By the fireplace, Vince and the driver moved some rotting floorboards, revealing a small metal lockbox embedded in the foundation. Catherine's eyes gleamed with triumph as they pried it loose and brought it to her. Open it, she commanded. The lock was old and rusted. Vince had to break it with a pocket knife. When the lid finally creaked open, Catherine leaned forward eagerly, then recoiled in shock. The box contained no jade statue. Instead, there was a USB drive, some photographs, and a handwritten letter. Catherine snatched up the photos, her face draining of color as she examined them. That bastard, she whispered. The images appeared to show Victor with various women in compromising positions. She opened the letter next, reading it quickly. Her expression changed from shock to calculating determination. Change of plans, she announced. This is better than the artifact. It's everything we need to destroy Victor. What is it? Vince asked. Evidence of his affairs, money laundering operations, and connections to corrupt officials. Catherine looked at Amanda with newfound interest. Your husband was smarter than I gave him credit for. He wasn't just a smuggler. He was gathering evidence against Victor as insurance. Outside, William gave the signal. James's team moved silently toward the cabin, surrounding it. Inside, Catherine turned to Amanda. I'm prepared to make you an offer, Ms. Jackson. Help me use this evidence against Victor, and I'll ensure you and your son are generously compensated. $5 million, enough to start a new life anywhere you choose. Before Amanda could respond, the cabin door burst open. James and his team rushed in, weapons drawn. Everyone on the ground! Now! James commanded. Catherine's men reacted too slowly. Within seconds, they were subdued. Catherine herself remained remarkably calm as she was restrained. William entered last, immediately going to Amanda and Noah. Are you both okay? He asked, checking them for injuries. Amanda nodded, tears of relief streaming down her face. We're fine. How did you... I promised I wouldn't let anything happen to you, William reminded her. He turned to Catherine, his expression hard. Mrs. Donovan, you're facing serious charges, kidnapping, extortion. Catherine laughed softly. Mr. Harper, always the white knight. She nodded toward the metal box. Before you hand me over to the authorities, you might want to look at what we found. It concerns more than just Victor Donovan. William approached the box cautiously and examined its contents. His eyes widened as he recognized several prominent city officials in the photos, including the police commissioner and a judge. This is why you wanted the evidence, he realized. Not just to use against your husband, but to leverage power for yourself. A woman needs protection in this world, Catherine replied unapologetically. Victor taught me that much. 2 hours later, Amanda and Noah sat in William's penthouse, while Sophie slept peacefully in her bedroom. The authorities had taken Catherine and her men into custody, and the evidence from Mike's lockbox had been secured by federal agents, bypassing the potentially corrupt local officials. It's finally over, William said, sitting beside Amanda on the sofa. The FBI has enough to bring down Victor Donovan, his wife, and half the corrupt officials in the city. I still can't believe Mike was involved in all this, Amanda said quietly. I never really knew him at all. William took her hand. He was trying to get out, Amanda. That letter made it clear. He was gathering evidence to protect you and Noah. Amanda nodded, tears filling her eyes. But it got him killed instead. And now his evidence will bring his killers to justice, William pointed out. He did protect you in the end. They sat in comfortable silence for a moment, the events of the past days settling around them. What happens now? Amanda finally asked. William squeezed her hand. Whatever you want. The FBI agent mentioned a witness protection program, if you're concerned about reprisals. Leave everything behind? Again? Amanda looked toward the room where Noah slept on a pull-out sofa. I don't know if I can do that to him. There's another option, William said carefully. Stay. Let me help you build a new life here. Amanda turned to him, searching his face. Why would you do that? Because in just a few days, you and Noah have become important to me. To Sophie, too. William's voice was soft but certain. I'm not asking for anything in return, just a chance to see where this might go. Amanda's expression softened. Sophie did mention she wants Noah to teach her about dinosaurs. William smiled. She's quite determined about it. Amanda leaned her head against his shoulder, exhaustion finally catching up with her. One day at a time, she murmured. That's all I can promise right now. That's all I'm asking for, William replied. 6 months later, a small gathering celebrated Sophie's 9th birthday at William's country estate. Noah, now 6, chased butterflies with other children, while adults mingled on the wide terrace overlooking manicured gardens. Amanda, wearing a simple sundress, helped Sophie cut her birthday cake. William watched them both, marveling at how naturally Amanda had fit into their lives. She had transferred to the pediatric day shift at a private hospital, where William served on the board, allowing her more time with Noah and, increasingly, with Sophie. The Donovan case had made headlines for weeks. Victor and Catherine were both facing lengthy prison sentences. The corruption they had fostered was being systematically dismantled by federal authorities. Amanda had testified against them, finally free of the fear that had shadowed her for years. As the party wound down and guests departed, William found Amanda alone on the terrace watching the sunset. Thank you for today, he said, joining her at the railing. Sophie said it was her best birthday ever. Amanda smiled. She deserved it. You've raised an amazing daughter, William. We both have remarkable children, he acknowledged. Noah's dinosaur presentation was quite the hit. They stood in comfortable silence, shoulders touching. Over the months, their relationship had evolved with cautious deliberation. There had been dinners, outings with the children, quiet evenings, talking long after the kids were asleep. William had been patient, understanding Amanda's need to heal, to trust again. I've been thinking, Amanda said after a while. Noah's school year ends next month. William nodded, wondering where she was going with this. The lease on my apartment is up too, she continued. I've been looking at places closer to the hospital, but real estate in that area is expensive. William turned to face her. Amanda, you know you and Noah are welcome to stay here. There's more than enough room. Amanda met his gaze steadily. Is that what you want? Us living here? I want you in my life, William answered honestly. You and Noah both. The arrangement is up to you. Amanda stepped closer, her hands resting lightly on his chest. What if I said I'm ready for more than an arrangement? William's heart quickened. Then I would say I've been falling in love with you since the moment Sophie spotted you in the rain. Amanda's smile bloomed, bright as sunrise. Funny how the worst day of my life turned into the beginning of something beautiful. As William drew her into his arms, the sound of children's laughter floated up from the garden. Sophie and Noah were chasing fireflies now, their excited voices carrying on the evening breeze. Daddy, Amanda, come see, Sophie called. Noah found a firefly that blinks purple. Amanda laughed, taking William's hand. We should go investigate this miracle of nature. William squeezed her hand, feeling a contentment he hadn't known in years. Together? Together, Amanda agreed, and as they descended the terrace steps to join their children, William silently thanked his daughter for her plea that rainy evening. Daddy, please help her. In trying to save Amanda, he had ultimately found salvation himself, a second chance at family, at wholeness, at love.